All right, welcome to the 2025 Senior Bowl National Team Practice. I'm Chris Ransom. William Yanish will be joining me shortly. But yeah, we are going to have an interview at 2. I've been watching the Shrine Bowl. I'm not going to lie. I've been watching the Shrine Bowl this morning since 9 a.m. remotely. And what a touchdown by Arroyo, the Miami Hurricanes tight end at the Senior Bowl. Elijah Arroyo just caught a touchdown in the one-on-one drills. I think tight ends are lining up against defensive backs. Could be receivers lining up against corners, corner safeties, but and I get it. The Senior Bowl is the premier all-star game, but the Shrine Bowl had some talent this year. Luke Lakey, Arondre Gadsden. Tight ends at the Shrine Bowl really stood out. Kyle McCord had a good day. Cam Miller, North Dakota State, had a good day as well. I mean, we'll see what happens on Thursday night at the Shrine game. I mean, Ursary did a good job run blocking, and Lane out of Virginia Tech wins a one-on-one against Iowa State's defensive back and then gets a touchdown. So Lane with a touchdown at the Senior Bowl. Mike Green's had a really strong day so far. I don't know what to think of Mike Green. His tape against Ohio State was really good. He had a sack. I'm trying to comprehend how EA Sports gave Mike Green a 75 for an overall rating. He's clearly better than that. But is he a floor player? Is he an immediate impact player? Is he a floor player? What type of player is Mike Green going to be at the next level? Go ahead and put that in the chat room if you want to talk about Marshall's Mike Green. He did win a one-on-one against Ozzie Trapillo. He did well against Connerly. Mike Green at a Marshall's. Maybe you could argue he's made himself some money today. You look at the Senior Bowl. Harold Fannin Jr. is the player I really wanted to watch today, but Shamar Turner did withdraw from the Senior Bowl due to medicals yesterday. Will Howard, because the playoff was so long, the Senior Bowl said you could either stay. Basically, the Senior Bowl replaced Will Howard because the playoff was so long. It's not that they wanted to. It's just they're a business. They're a brand. They're going to do what's best for the brand rather than what's best for the consumer. And now we go to a commercial. I can pull up some Senior Bowl stuff on X if you'd like. I can actually pull up some Senior Bowl stuff here on X if you guys would like. Trey McBride was the first player to have 2 same-sex parents. That really doesn't matter, okay? It doesn't matter if the parents are straight or gay. It really doesn't. What is the football player like? What is his character like? What is his attitude like? How does he treat his teammates? That's what people care about, okay? I don't want to see that. It really doesn't matter. And here you have Canales and Stefanski networking at the Senior Bowl. Canales seems a lot more open, a lot more secure, a lot more confident in the direction his team is going in. Or maybe Stefanski just doesn't care to converse with him. But you look at the body language of Stefanski and Canales in this conversation. Canales seems very eager, very opportunistic to learn. And Stefanski is giving Canales the bare minimum amount of attention. The bare minimum amount. So, yeah. All right. I need some good Senior Bowl stuff here. Josh Connerly with a nice rep against John Joyner. Connerly's my OT3, so I think that's a good job that he won that rep. All right, so winners for day 3, Jared Christian Littman, Chris Paul Jr., Thomas Perry from Middlebury had a great day. He dominated he dominated Nazir Stackhouse. Nazir Stackhouse had a good day too. Nick Nash had an excellent week. Nick Nash is going to be, and Harold Fannin Jr. is the player I wanted to watch today. Dom C replies that he looks a lot quicker than he did on film, already with a really nice grab and throw from Dylan Gabriel. You know, we'll see what happens. "30 seconds, lol." All right, just making sure. So Williams said 30 seconds, but Anenis Peebles 91 pass rush grade on Pro Football Focus. I'm going to have to mute the Senior Bowl. As much as I'd like to keep the volume on, I do risk getting a copyright strike. I'm not going to take that risk. It happened on Twitch once. I think I was watching day 2 of the day 2 of the NBA draft. I accidentally had the volume on and I got hit with a copyright strike by Twitch. So I'm not going to risk that. It's not a risk I'm taking. It's just not. I'm sorry. I'm not taking that risk. William said he'll be here in 30 seconds. But yeah, there's a lot of drills going on here at the Senior Bowl. And a lot of people are asking me about mock drafts. I am swamped with mock drafts. I am in what we call mock draft hell right now. Still working on the MLB mock draft. I'm currently on pick 19 of that. There's going to be 27 lengthy write-ups. Then there's going to be a lot of short write-ups until we get to the Mets, Yankees, and Dodgers. And then there's going to be short write-ups the rest of the way. And last 2 years, the ML first round was only 39 picks. It's 42 picks this year. So there's also a huge trade in the WNBA that caused the Seattle Storm to get the number 2 pick in this year's draft from the LA Sparks. Huge 3-team trade that sent Kelsey Plum to the Sparks, Joel Lloyd to the Las Vegas Aces. So I'm officially in mock draft hell. Yeah. And then I've got the NFL mock I got to update. And then after that, I'm probably going to have to update the NHL mock, but I'll probably wait till lottery comes out. But I'm officially in mock draft hell right now. So that's why I'm live streaming. I'm commenting on the Senior Bowl, but I'm probably not going to do any Senior Bowl articles because I am officially in mock draft hell, Because the MLS draft was on December 20th, I really couldn't start my MLB mock until like New Year's Eve. Because on Sundays and Saturdays, I am swamped with game recaps. I'm swamped with the podcast. Leaves very little time in my schedule. And there we see Charles Grant, the William and Mary tackle, pancake Landon Jackson. That was a good rep by Charles Grant. Charles Grant with a really good rep there. And here the Iowa defensive tackle, Yaya Black wins a rep against the left guard. All right, so you've made it just in time, William. We got a lot of Senior Bowl reps here going on. The one-on-one drills between the defensive linemen and offensive linemen are underway.
Nice. I think I was just seeing that on YouTube. Hey everyone, how's it going?
And I can screen share. Some Senior Bowl drills or reps on X if you want me to. But I'm just watching the drills and observing what's happening because a lot's going on this week. We got the Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl, William. So a lot's going on. A lot of guys are trying to solidify their draft position.
For sure. And like you were saying earlier, I turned it on and you said that Kyle McCord and Rondé Gadsden Jr. were having a pretty good practice, and I turned it on earlier. That's exactly what I saw. I mean,
Luke Lakey had a good day too.
Yeah, very well. I didn't see him as much, but I did see some of the drills with Gadsden, and I mean that guy. He's like a supersized wide receiver, I mean,
he's been my tight end 3 for a large part of the process, but I'll probably have to move him down to tight end 4 because I think Loveland, Tyler Warren, and Fannin are going to be the first 3 tight ends off the board, unfortunately. I've had Warren at 4, but he did so much during the playoff, I think he moved into the top 3.
Yeah, and, usually tight ends, when players get bigger, they get wider and stuff. But now Gazin just like I said, supersized wide receiver kind of guy. And I mean, he's going to make one hell of a receiver in the league for.
Yep.
I mean, just causing some of those mismatches and everything. It's going to be a beautiful thing for sure, for sure. Let me see if I can find this on here though.
Who's impressed at the Senior Bowl so far? I mentioned Mike Green, the Marshall defensive end, who had 12.5 sacks. EA Sports screwed up badly when they gave him a 75 rating because he's clearly better than that. I mean, he had double-digit sacks. He did sack Ohio State this year. And, you know, he's won some one-on-ones against Ozzie Trapillo, the Boston College left tackle. Had a good rep against Connerly. Connerly's won reps against everyone else, though. Connerly and Ursery out of Minnesota both look like NFL left tackles. And we'll talk about Ursery on Thursday a little bit because that's the player we have in Thursday's thumbnail. The player we have in today's thumbnail is Bowling Green tight end Harold Fannin Jr. He looks a lot quicker than he did today versus what he did at Bowling Green. That tight end one race between Loveland, Warren, and Fannin's going to be really tight.
Yeah, it definitely is, and that's just about where I got him too. And I mean, a couple years ago, you know, between Kincaid and that class, you know, I mean, I had four first round tight ends that year, and that's a rarity, you know. And this year's it's about coming down to that too. I mean, I just love being back in my world, you know, after watching college
I think
football all
somebody's going to
season.
trade for Mark Andrews. I think the Ravens are going to draft another tight end to pair with Likely, and I think Mark Andrews is going to get traded because Mark Andrews, he's had too many screw-ups. He dropped the 2-point conversion, and as much as I love Mark Andrews, I don't think the Ravens want to pay him as much money when they can re-sign Likely, pay him as much as Andrews, and he doesn't drop as many balls as Andrews. And I don't think the Ravens want to cut Andrews, and he has value as a tight end. Some still view him as a top 5 tight end. So I think he might get traded to another team this offseason.
I wouldn't doubt that because the fans turned on him, man. I've been
because the Ravens can just draft a tight end in the first round and reload. It's not like they need Mark Andrews at this point because Likely was better this year.
And that's Raven-like football right there, you know. And
yeah,
they'll have a chance to get a first-round tight end probably in the second round, maybe.
I mean, Andrews was a third-round pick, but I think the Ravens can get a second for him, maybe a first, but I think they could definitely get a second for Andrews at this rate if they move him now.
And like I said, man, the fans turned on him. It's like, dude drop the ball, and it's a game, man. You know, but a fresh start somewhere, you know, to where, I mean, would be the best thing possible for him. And you know, coming up this is when tight ends start to break down too. You know, they always, you know, end up almost always with you know, being rather injury prone and such. But you know, a fresh start somewhere would be good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the teams that have cap space to take on Mark Andrews' contract. The Commanders at $87 million stand out. They do have Zach Ertz, but I think Andrews would be an upgrade over them, and I do think they're going to go after Ronnie Stanley, the Ravens left tackle, set to be a free agent, because they've got more money. They got further in the playoffs than the Ravens, and I think Stanley would be happy to go there to protect Jaden Daniels' blind side. The Cardinals and McBride, they're not going to trade for Andrews. The Raiders have Bowers. They're not going to, on a rookie deal, they're not going to trade. Patriots have Hunter Henry. I do think Mark Andrews is an upgrade over Hunter Henry, but I also don't think the Patriots want to trade any draft picks away before day 3 this year in the 4th round, William. And I think it's going to cost more than that to get Andrews. So that's the problem. I mean, right now, I would say the New York Giants with $43 million, that's the best fit. I know Theo Johnson took the tight end 1 job from Bellinger, but let's face it, Mark Andrews is an upgrade over every tight end on the New York Giants.
Yeah, that's for sure. But
so I could see that I could see the Giants giving up a 2nd round pick to get Andrews, and then they'd have their rookie QB and they'd have a veteran weapon for him. Steelers $40 million, Packers $40 million, Broncos, honestly, if the Broncos offered 20 for Mark Andrews, that wouldn't be the worst decision in the world. You'd have another really good weapon for Bo Nix besides Cortland Sutton. That would not be I don't think the Ravens are going to trade him to an AFC team, though. That's the thing. and the other teams just don't have the cap space to take on that contract. The Panthers drafted the tight end out of Texas that we both really liked last year.
Adam Troutman is in a contract year, isn't he?
Yeah, Troutman's in a contract year, and they moved on from Greg Dulcich.
Yeah.
So I could see the Broncos trading for Mark Andrews, but I really don't see any other teams taking on that contract outside of the Giants and maybe the Broncos. I mean, the Bengals, I guess, if they wanted to move on, but I don't see the Ravens trading to a division rival. The Vikings have TJ Hawkinson. The Chargers could use him, but they have Will Dissly. And if they're paying Dissly $3 million, I think they're just going to roll with Dissly. The problem is teams do not want that much cap space attached to a player, even a player as good as Andrews.
And where you started with the New York Giants, that's an excellent spot because they're going to have rookie quarterback coming in, and just having that safety valve I think that would be an excellent spot.
Andrews only takes up $7 million in caps. Base salary is only $7 million, but his cap hits $16 million, and he has a dead cap of $5,900,000. So if the Ravens can't trade Andrews, they can release him and save $11 million against the cap. That's the other thing. So Andrews might actually be a buyout if a team doesn't want to take on that contract. He might actually be one of the buyouts this offseason because the Ravens don't have a lot of cap space. They only have $13 million. So they save $11 million by cutting Andrews.
And then they're doing Andrews a favor too, because he can end up,
he can end up on the team he wants to sign with. Yeah. So if they can't trade him, I think they're going to cut him. It's not that they want to; they have to. They only have $13 million. If they want to pay Ronnie Stanley, their left tackle, they have to sacrifice Mark Andrews. They don't have any other choice.
Yeah, they're just doing everyone a favor there, themselves, the fans.
And Mike Green just won another one-on-one rep against Ozzie Trapillo, but Ozzie Trapillo just lacks that lateral agility to win one-on-ones against speedy edge rushers like Mike Green with good bend. And Connerly with a decent rep. UCLA guy really did push him to his limit. Watching these one-on-ones here, Anthony Belton pancakes the San Diego State edge rusher Tafua. Maybe that's the Utah edge. I don't know, but good rep there by Anthony Belton. Belton's had a good first day, the North Carolina State left tackle. But he's lined up at guard, too. He's had a nice first day. And I could see John Lynch. He's chewing his gum. It's regular gum. It's not bubble gum. It's not Hubba Bubba. For anyone wondering, it's probably just regular gum. He's very mentally focused, though, on this drill, these reps. It's good to see. Here we've got Josiah Stewart versus Marcus Mabeau, the Purdue right tackle, and Mabeau locks up Stewart on that one, wins that rep. But it did look like he was holding him in a bear hug. Wyatt Milam, the West Virginia left tackle, gets beat by, is that Izararu, the Boston College edge rusher? I think so. I don't know. And yeah. There's a lot of good offensive linemen, but they're also very inconsistent. And Jonah Monheim bear hugs the Peebles, the Virginia Tech defensive tackle, but pancakes him, and the ref threw a flag on the play. So, I mean, these linemen are good, but they're also very inconsistent, very raw. That's the impression I get. And a lot of people said it's not a great offensive line class. I think it's a good guard group, but I think it's a very thin tackle center group this year. That's the problem.
Man, I saw that guard at the East-West Shrine practice earlier, and that was a grown-ass man. I mean, he had...
There was a small school center at the East-West Shrine Bowl who was having his way with Nazir Stackhouse, the Georgia defensive tackle.
That might have been I'm talking about, because I saw that they were talking about it. Oh, man. Let's see if I can find this on here.
Sounds like Dave Ragone, the former quarterback, is going to be the Bucs' new offensive coordinator. That's what I'm hearing on Twitter. Also hearing that the Browns offered a third-round pick for DK Metcalf, the Seahawks receiver, but the Seahawks want 33. So Metcalf if the Browns trade for Metcalf, they're not going to have the cap space to get a Kirk Cousins, and they're going to have to draft a quarterback at 2. That's something to keep an eye on, William, because I don't think the Browns, even with the cap space they'll get for Deshaun Watson being on IR, I don't think they have the cap space to take on Metcalf's contract and a veteran quarterback. I think it's one or the other. Whereas, because even with Watson going on IR, all that does is save you $45 million or $60 million, and you're $30 million over the cap. So if you take on Metcalf, who's taking on $30 million, you hardly have any cap space. In whatever cap space you have left, you have to invest in the draft. So, and I'm not saying we won't see, but that's one of the things I've heard right now is that the Browns are in negotiations with the Seahawks for DK Metcalf. Which is crazy because the Browns have 2 good receivers in Jerry Jeudy and Cedric Tillman. So the fact that the Browns are actually negotiating a trade for Metcalf, that's a crazy rumor.
Yeah, it is. That's actually it makes sense though. I mean, the Seahawks need to do something else, and they need to do.
If the Seahawks want to do a full-on rebuild and blow up their team, this trade does make sense for both parties.
Yeah,
because the Browns would have 3 veteran receivers plus a veteran tight end for the rookie quarterback they draft. They'd have good weapons for whoever they draft to succeed. But if they trade for Metcalf, they're probably drafting a rookie at 2 and throwing him into the fire with the weapons they have, like the Bears did with Caleb Williams.
And I mean, how much is Geno making at quarterback anyway? I mean, that's got to be a
Metcalf
number.
Is making 20 to 30 million.
Metcalf is. What about Geno Smith?
He's making 44 million.
Yeah. I mean, they could easily clear up a whole bunch of stuff
and they've got a bunch of players they can buy out, bunch of stars that are in contract years, but also a bunch of players they can buy out.
Of course, last year making it to the playoffs, they might have a little bit of,
they could keep their core and go all in and try to win the NFC West, or they can blow up their team. And if they think next year's QB draft is better than this one, this is the best time to blow up your team because you get more draft picks. And part of it's positioning yourself. What do I mean by that? The Bills had Josh Allen in the 2018 draft. They waited till Tom Brady left the division to make their move and get Stephon Diggs. And then they positioned themselves as the team to beat as soon as Brady left the division. Yep. That's the game. That's how you win in football. If you're the Browns, you're the Steelers, you have to position yourself so that when Burrow and Lamar Jackson leave the division or retire, you're ready to take over the division. That's the whole game, and it's hard, especially when you got all these young QBs that are still in their prime for another 10 to 12 years. It's very hard to position yourself as that team. The Bills did it perfectly, and now they're the face of the AFC East instead of my Patriots.
Plus the draft now, with all the nil and transfer portal and such, they pick what year they want to come out. So that kind of, puts things more on edge from
But this is the thing. By the 2030s decade, Burrow and Lamar Jackson are both going to be in their 30s once you get to the 2030s decade. So you want to, if you're the Steelers or the Browns, you want to do a rebuild now, because if you do a rebuild now and you rebuild correctly, you're in position to become the number 1 team the second Burrow or Lamar starts to decline in the 2030s. It may not be until the late 2030s, but it's going to be sometime in the 2030s when you see one or both of those guys decline.
Well, Burrow came in when he was 20 years old. I mean,
he was 24 when he was drafted. He's 28 or 29 now, but he was 24. He was 23 his rookie year. He was 24 when he got the Bengals to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, that's what a lot of people don't look at either. And it's sometimes it's not the age, it's the miles. It's just like a vehicle.
But Burrow feels like he's hungry, whereas Lamar, I feel like the moment he wins a Super Bowl, all the motivation to win one's going to disappear.
Yeah, and I don't know. I saw Lamar, and he just after losing that game to the Bills, just was not in a good good mindset. I'll say that. And I mean,
yeah.
I don't know,
and this was the best chance for the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. They had all their core guys under contract this year at both sides of the ball. This was their best window. I feel like their window's closed. Maybe they get I think the best case scenario for them is they get to another AFC title game and they lose to either the Chiefs, Bills, or maybe the Chargers. Maybe we get a Harbaugh AFC championship and Jim Harbaugh beats John in the rematch of Super Bowl 47.
Like
and
that.
Lamar loses another AFC championship at home to the Chargers. That would be pretty hilarious, though. That would pretty much validate he can't even get to the big game. We'll see. Sure. It's still early. It's still very early.
Sure. Yeah, you want to screen share some of those what you're talking about from practice?
The body language cues. I was talking about those the other day. I think the Titans are taking Cam Ward or Abdul Carter at 1. They have a rookie corner who did well as a number 1 corner in Jarvis Brownlee, their 5th-round pick, and they have Algerius Sneed. They also still have Chidobe Awuzie. He might be only under contract for until this season, but they also have Roger McCreary on the final year of his rookie deal, too. They have some bodies at corner. I don't think they're taking Travis Hunter at 1.
Yeah.
And they have Calvin Ridley at receiver, too. I mean, Tyler Boyd's a free agent. If they draft Travis Hunter at 1, they're drafting him as a wide receiver, not a corner.
I wonder if someone wants to share with Shedeur on like X or something about that body language, the handshake thing, and see if he has a meltdown.
Yeah, because one of the things my mentor taught me, a psychologist that knows body language cues, is that temporary touches 1 to 3 seconds, lingering touches 3 to 5 seconds, and constant touches 5 to 7 seconds. And the NFL teams that were touching Shedeur Sanders and the Titans were showing temporary touch, and they were only touching him as he entered the interview room. That means they're trying to be polite and cordial, but they're not interested in drafting him. That's what that means, and nobody's going to tell you that. That's the thing.
100% true, because I studied psychology.
A temporary touch is like the kiss of death, William. If you go into a job interview and because I went into a job interview at Target once, I tried to handshake the manager and the manager pulled away after 3 seconds. I knew they weren't going to hire me. I never heard back from Target. Not surprised, but that's how the game works. That's how the job interview game works. So it's like,
no, it is, man. Like I said, I studied psychology, and
I'm not pissed at Target. I just know how the game works. Okay, I'm very savvy in that respect. They're allowed to do what they want as a corporation. Target is, okay. They're allowed to do whatever they want as a corporation.
Oh yeah.
So are we. Draft Utopia. So hey, more power to Target.
Yes, sir. But yeah, dude, I wonder if maybe I'll get on there and share that with Shedeur later or something.
The Giants, I think Shadeur's going to go to the Giants. The question is, do the Browns, are the rumors that the Browns like Shedeur Sanders more than Joe Burrow? Because an AFC North team told ESPN's Jordan Reed back in August, we think Shedeur Sanders is going to be better than Joe Burrow. And the Steelers and Browns are the only teams that would report this. The Ravens and Bengals are not stupid enough to say that behind their own QB's back. So, I think this is more Browns than Steelers, because the Browns have a Southwest area scout. The Steelers don't. They have Blisto scouts. So I think
the other day when I mentioned the Raiders as the best place for Shedeur, that doesn't mean that I think that he's going to go there, but I do see the New York Giants doing something like that. And
the Giants have shown more interest in Shedeur, and Shadeur's shown a lot of interest in the Giants. He's very happy with the conversations he's had with the Giants.
Dable is on life support, so I mean,
unless the Giants like Cam Ward more than Shedeur after showing all those body language cues and interest, they're going to draft Shedeur at 3. And I would take Ward personally if I were the Giants, but I think they're going to take Shedeur, and I think Cam Ward's probably going to fall to the Raiders at 6. It's not that I don't think the Browns won't take Shedeur at 2. They might. The Browns might take Shedeur at 2. But the whole Browns thing with Shedeur could be bullshit, too. I've heard they really like Travis Hunter as well.
I just hope that
they might want a veteran quarterback in Travis Hunter. That might be the plan. Veteran quarterback in free agency or trade once Watson gives them more cap space, and then Shedeur or Travis Hunter at 2. That might be their plan.
I just hope that Jalen Milroe is the exception to the hand size rule thing. with 8 3/4 inch hands.
Yeah, he's going to be in the second practice. We are seeing the 7-on-7 drills. Dylan Gabriel drops back to pass, 2-step, 3-step drop, throws a completion, but Lane, the Virginia Tech receiver, had to break off his route early to catch Gabriel's pass. So what that tells me is Gabriel, his accuracy is not very good. The fact that a receiver had to break off his route early to catch a pass he underthrew, that tells me Dylan Gabriel's accuracy is not very good.
Yeah, and that was one thing I was never impressed with Gabriel about was his accuracy. And
Elgersma, the Canadian Football League quarterback of the year, college football quarterback of the year in Canada, is at the Senior Bowl. Elgersma, I mean, that's an interesting addition. Will Howard opted out of the Senior Bowl because of Ohio State. They were on a title run, and the Senior Bowl is very strict with deadlines. They need you to commit by a certain date or they replace you. So because Ohio State ended up winning it all, Will Howard opted out of the Senior Bowl. And Taylor Elgersma, 2,643 passing yards, 20 touchdowns for the Laurier Golden Hawks, a Canadian college. He's in the Senior Bowl. And, you know, he just hands it off to a running back there, Allen Jr. And then the third QB from this group is Taylor Show, the Louisville quarterback. So this group's not very exciting. I mean, there are some good playmakers like Harold Fannin Jr., Restrepo, the offensive line. There are some fun players in this group, but it's mainly the playmakers, the linemen, the weapons, William. It's not the quarterbacks. Yeah. The quarterbacks in the next group with Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe, that's the group we want to scout. That's the group we want to watch.
Yeah, for sure. Hold on a second.
That's not a knock on this group. It's just Dart's the only QB with a bigger hand size than Jared Goff. Riley Leonard's hand size is identical to Goff, and every other QB in this draft either has 9-inch, 8 and 7/8 smaller hand size than Goff. And it's just, even if they develop and reach their ceiling, they're going to have an uphill battle. Even Milroe.
Yeah. And that was like talking about hand size and Kenny Pickett a few years ago. I mean, he had 8.5-inch hands, but his thumb was bent at the top the wrong way towards his fingers. And that's why when, he did some hand stretches and stuff, he came back to his pro day and measured it, at 8 5/8 or something like that. And but that is the difference I've got to say between Milroe's 8 3/4 and
I still think Milroe can be a day 2 pick, but I think he's a second to third round pick now. I think the hand size pretty much knocks him out of the first round, even with a spectacular week. I mean, Kenny Pickett went at 20, but even if Milroe was perfect, I think the best case scenario is the Steelers at 21.
If I were a GM, I would have him go out there and throw some wet balls around and see, exactly what he was. And if I was Milroe, I would start doing that. And
I'll pull up the first round of the draft. The Browns could take a QB. The Raiders and Giants could take a QB, but I don't think they're going to take Milroe as early as 6 or whatever. And then after the Raiders at 6, I really don't see a team in the market for the QB. The Jets could draft a QB if they moved on from Aaron Rodgers, but unless that happens, I'm not going to entertain that idea. Colts still have Anthony Richardson in year 3 of his rookie deal. Falcons have Penix on a rookie deal. Tua is still with the Dolphins. Kyler Murray, you can't get out of that contract till next year. Geno Smith, if the Seahawks do trade for Geno Smith, that is the first team in the top 20 that could realistically take a look at Milroe. And then after that, you have the Steelers, who Russell Wilson and Justin Fields are both UFAs, William. So if they love one of the quarterbacks at this Senior Bowl, they can take a quarterback at 21. It's not off the table. I don't think it's very likely. I think they're more likely to get a receiver, a corner at 21. But if they fall in love with one of these QBs, they could take a QB at 21 like they did with Pickett 3 years ago,
Yeah. And that would be an excellent spot for him. Just maybe it's the best thing possible for him anyway, to slide into the end of the first round.
And the only other team I can see picking a QB in round 1 is probably the Rams at 26 with Stafford getting up there in age. Yeah, the Vikings
Yeah,
could take a QB, but they got McCarthy. I think they're going to stick with McCarthy, or they're going to start Darnold, but it's going to be Darnold or McCarthy in Minnesota.
and
Realistically,
Stafford said he was taking some time with his family to
yeah,
talk about it. So there was that, when the question did come up. So,
I don't see any
whether it's
other
this year or
teams in the back
next,
half of the first round outside of the Seahawks, Steelers, and Rams looking at a QB.
yeah.
Texans of Stroud, Ravens of Lamar Jackson, Lions of Goff, Commanders of Jaden Daniels on a rookie deal, Bills of Allen, Eagles of Hurts, Chiefs have Mahomes. I think it's the Seahawks, the Steelers, and the Rams. And if one of those teams doesn't take a QB in day one, I think Milrose fall into day two. Or Dart, or whoever else is in this class outside of Ward and Shadur. That's the reality, William.
Jackson Dart is someone that fans should be watching. I
I
mean,
still think
I can
Milrose.
see him rising. I really
I
can.
think Milrose still QB5, but you could argue he's QB4 if you like him more than Quinn Ewers. But I think right now it's Dart versus Ewers for QB3. And then the other guy is QB4, and I think Milrose probably QB5. Even with the hand size issue, he's still a top 5 QB in the draft. But he's no longer
Another
the clear-cut number 3 guy. It's now
an,
sort of more wide open.
another quarterback is one that I was watching this morning, and that was one you mentioned was Kyle McCord. And
McCord could enter that conversation too. I
yeah,
mean, that's the thing. He had a great week at the Shrine Bowl. He practiced all 3 days, and Scout said he was the best QB that week. So
yeah.
him and Will, after Milroe, him and Will Howard feel like the next best 2 guys. But the question is, are they going to be 4th-round picks, or can one of those guys do enough to move into day 2? That's going to
Yeah.
be the big question.
Yep. I'm just glad I'm at the point where I'm the guy who says maybe where they should be drafted, not where they're gonna be drafted. Because I
Yeah,
much
I'm
prefer
looking at
that.
Tankathon's mock draft. They've got Shadur Sanders at 1, Cam Ward
It's
at
like
3.
picking
I
games.
don't think they've looked at the body language cues. I don't think the Titans are drafting Sanders at 1. They've got Milroe to the Raiders at 37. That's, if you just look at the tape and not the hand size, you can argue 37 is a good spot for Milroe. But I think Milroe might come off the board before 37. And then they don't really have a QB in round 2. That's it.
Yeah.
And then round 3, they've got Quinn Ewers going to the Steelers at 83 and Jackson Dart going to the Browns at 94 with the Bills' 3rd-round pick. So that's what we're seeing right now. That's what we're seeing right now with the mock drafts. So there's Dylan Gabriel just fumbled the. Who is that number 2 that just fumbled the ball? Was that Tyler Show or Dylan Gabriel that just fumbled the ball in the snap? That is not a good look. I mean, the offensive line's doing a good job as far as protection goes.
And for anyone watching, we have linebacker Jeremiah Spicer coming up here in about 30.
That's going to be the 2 p.m. show. So we're going to end this stream at because I made 2 separate streams. We made this stream and we got the Jeremiah Spicer stream.
So he'll be coming on hanging out with us. And you guys should stick around for that.
Throwing a completion there. I think the second practice is going to be a lot more interesting, but it looks like John Morton, the passing game coordinator for the Broncos, is the new Lions offensive coordinator. And that was Tyler Show who fumbled the ball, not Dylan Gabriel, just for clarity purposes. But what players have impressed me in the first practice so far? I like what I've seen from Fannin and Gavin Bartholomew. I like what I've seen from Jaden Higgins. He's had a good day.
Shug is one that I definitely sucks to see him fumble because being on the national spotlight like that, I definitely have seen some potential in that guy too. And he's, you're every bit of a prototypical quarterback, 6'5", 220, and he's definitely had some experience, in college, in the name of development, that question that's come up so much lately. I mean, I think he was, a fifth-year senior or something like that, so he's about 24, 25, somewhere in there. Like I said, he definitely has the potential, though. I know it came up in conversation I was having with Daniel Kelly not too long ago.
Yeah. National practice in the book. Guys who have my attention: Josh Farmer, good combo of speed, power, drive. Jalen Rivers, Miami, is he a guard or tackle? Elijah Arroyo, the Miami tight end, had a good day. Drew is not wrong. Arroyo had a good day. So did Fannin. And then you look at some of the other guys.
Yeah, that's one that I definitely want to see is Fannin. I mean, I want to see how that top stacks up with those few tight ends there that we were talking about. And then deciding between, that's another thing a lot of teams have to decide on, is if they need, true wide tight end that can throw in for some blocking.
Anenis Pebbles has been disruptive outside of that one rep he lost. Tommy Callahan, a Titans fan, you won't hear about Abdul Carter blowing up on run plays. He never has. Mike Green's a better prospect. I kind of agree. Mike Green really did dominate on some running plays today. Abdul Carter, he's all speed. He does not have the rip and swim moves that other really good edge rushers like Myles Garrett, Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, Micah Parsons had. He is not as proficient as a pass rusher. Even Chase Young had more moves as an edge rusher coming out of Ohio State than Abdul Carter has coming out of Penn State. That's really my issue with taking Abdul Carter at 1. He has generational speed. Okay, he has fantastic speed off the edge, but his rip and swim moves are not refined. And I feel like that's something you have to have heading into the NFL rather than something you can teach. And some teams believe they can teach that. So we'll see what happens with Carter. But Carter feels like a guy who's going to test really well at the combine and then struggle his first year until he learns rip and swim moves. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting with Abdul Carter.
Yeah, and that's definitely another thing, deciding whether, he's going to be better at 3-4 rush end or rush linebacker instead of 4-3 rush end.
I'm giggling because it's the General Mills commercial with the Kelsey brothers. Yeah. There's a commercial where Jason Kelsey's wife is pouring Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and Jason Kelsey's just sitting there playing with the Lucky Charms marshmallows. It's very hilarious because it's like instead of eating the food, he's playing with his food, and he's got like all the Lucky Charms marshmallows stacked up. The rainbows, the clouds, all the Lucky Charms marshmallows, the horseshoe, the green hat. He's got like all of the marshmallows, different kinds stacked up next to each other. It's very funny. I think that's very amusing.
Yeah. Of course, they're getting in as many commercials as they can now that they're,
Yep. But that's what the Manning brothers did. And now we got the Manning brothers Hawaiian commercial. But this commercial's been out for a while. The King's Hawaiian.
I still can't place it, though. I don't watch any.
Yeah, Ursari's had a good day at left tackle. I agree with Colton Edwards. Ursari's, I would argue Ursari's the winner. Ursari's one of the winners for day one.
Yes, sir. About to be cooking something on here.
Yeah.
See if anybody else wants some breakfast.
Winners from national team practice day one: Gabe Ray Zabel, North Dakota State; Anthony Belton, North Carolina State; Ursary, Minnesota; Arroyo, Miami; Quincy Riley, Miami. I had a first-round grade on Quincy Riley, even dating back to August. I'm not surprised he was a winner. Peebles, I thought Peebles was okay, but he lost for one rep. A lot of people like what he did. Mike Green, the Marshall edge rusher. Hez Johnson caught every target thrown his way, despite having smaller hands than Milrow at wide receiver. And he's a Rocky who had at Boston College at a good day, too. He won some one-on-ones against Connerly. So,
yeah, the only thing I wasn't impressed with on him was he was about as heavy as a feather,
Yeah.
He weighed about 170 pounds. But other than that, I love Tez Johnson coming out. I mean,
Yep. So Connerly and Ursuly, the two tackles, they're blocking each other in practice. Tom Pelissero, it looks like he's at the Senior Bowl headquarters because those Panini cards, those are in Jim Nagy's actual office. When you go to the Senior Bowl headquarters, those Senior Bowl posters are all over the Senior Bowl headquarters office. They're also all over the hotel. So I can't tell if Pelissero is in the hotel or if he's in Jim Nagy's office. My guess is he's at the hotel, and he's just playing sideline reporter at the hotel. Seems like Tom Pelissero's alley. He was out there last year, though. But they're in a commercial. I don't know. How much more should we cover of this practice before we pivot to the other show where we cover, where we interview Spicer? That's what we've got to. Okay, Parker Blake saying gearing up for practice 2 at the Senior Bowl as of 12 minutes ago. And then Kyron Samuels, his national team standouts, Connerly, Tez Johnson, Arroyo, Zabel, Mike Green, Josiah Stewart, Jalen Smith. It seems like everybody else is sort of invested in certain players.
That's how it always seems to work.
How much longer should we keep this stream going before we set up the second one?
Yeah,
or we
let's go set up the second one and get ready for that one.
Because we've been on the air for 46 minutes. I didn't think this one would be this short, but it feels like the first practice is over. They're just replaying commercials, and I think the second practice does start at 1:30. But NFL Network's not going to show us that. They're just going to saturate the channel with commercials and guys on Jeremiah's rankings until 2, probably. That's probably what they're going to do.
Yeah. Let's drop out and get ready for the next one, man.
So let's just end this one and get ready for the next one. We're in agreement?
Yep.
All right. We'll see you guys back here in 30 minutes for the Tyree Spicer interview. Get ready. Get your pop.